One. Hey, hey, hey. Live, week 18, State of the Kingdom.
Boom, boom. Let's get it.
Let's get
How you
it.
doing, bro?
Yeah, doing all right. Just living the dream over here. Unfortunately, the weather has taken a turn from the lovely January 50 degrees into typical January 20 degrees, but hey, what can you do, right? How about you?
Uh, uh, you know, what did we say? We're not doing weather, man. I ain't gonna tell you about the
No,
weather. We
okay,
said we're not
okay.
doing
All right, all
it.
right. Yeah, we got to jump into positive yards. Last week I went first, so
Yeah.
you're going first this week.
Okay. I actually do have one. I actually do have one.
Yeah.
Been working on some things. I've been complaining about work every week, but that hard work is starting to pay off. So we're looking at maybe a little bit of a promotion in your boy's cards here. So I'll probably have some more details for you on that off mic. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Huge. That's
moving on up.
awesome.
Get that
Congratulations.
pot. Absolutely help fund this podcast
Well
until we can get some
deserved.
sponsors.
Right, right. Yeah, we're working on it. The production quality will get there eventually.
Right, right.
Um, Shoot. Yeah, I know I made you go first so I could think about it just like you did to me last week, and I'm sitting here just, oh gosh, trying to scramble for something. Um, yeah, something this past week since we last talked. What was it? Thursday? It's making me pretty happy. Is it bad for me to just go ahead and say it's because the holidays are over? Um, and I don't mean that in a Scrooge way. It's just, so me and Kate, both of our parents are divorced, and so like when it comes to
Mm,
holidays, like it stops being, like oh, okay, you got Thanksgiving, and then oh, okay, you got Christmas, right? Instead, it's okay, you got mom's Christmas, and then you got dad's Christmas, and then you got Kate's mom's Christmas, and you got Kate's dad's Christmas, that kind of thing, right? And so what used to be just like one holiday a month at the end of the year between like Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas has become it's 3 months of just nonstop family obligations.
right.
So yeah, I think what I'm happiest about is like this past weekend was probably the first weekend we've had since middle of November where nothing happened, and I'm just that introvert guy who like is happy to sit on the couch. And so it's great to, just have that weekend of like I could take my time doing laundry. Oh shit, speaking of, I have some laundry. um Take time doing laundry, I can take time doing anything I want to. I don't have to like rush around and try to get errands done in a certain amount of time. And so I guess, for me, the positive thing is just like finally having that, mental break of just calling it, oh no,
Stomach. No.
oh no.
Stomach. Last thing you cut out on was mental break.
I guess the one thing I'm really not positive on is just this internet. Yeah, no, it's great to have that like mental break after, just back to back weekends of the holiday. And
Sure.
like both of us, we've talked about the fact that our jobs are super heavy during the winter months, during the end of the year and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, not only is it just full of obligations work-wise, just also then family obligation wise. So it's this past weekend, having this past weekend of just pure bliss, freedom, take the time to do whatever I want kind of thing, no obligations, hanging out, feet up on the couch, watching my shows, that kind of thing. It was nice to have that again. So that's my definite positive yard this week. And this
Nice, nice.
weekend's looking good too because not just that, but hey, don't even have to worry about watching a Chiefs game either. No, okay, I said that like it's a burden. I love watching the Chiefs, of course, but it's just
Uh,
you get that bye, it's the bye week for the fans at this point, I feel.
it's a toxic relationship because I love it too, but sometimes it's a little stressful.
It is,
It's a
absolutely.
little stressful. So yeah, it is nice. Well, I guess part of that is it's nice to not watch a game knowing that we've locked up that number one seed.
Hmm.
And so all we got to do is kind of just sit back, relax, and figure out who we're going to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I know we'll get more into that. Definitely trying to be better not about not skipping the bullet points.
Right.
But yeah, before we even get into that at all, I mean, yeah, I know at the time we're recording this is Thursday, right? So it's been a few days.
I
But as
I'm
of
not
right
gonna
now,
lie, I thought it was Tuesday. Holy moly. Oh my God.
it sounds like you need this mental break. You needed the mental
Oh
break.
man. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so
No, I
yeah,
need
you're
another
right.
one.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, but yeah, it's Thursday. It's been a few days. I think Damar Hamlin was released from Cincinnati's hospital to Buffalo
hmm
on, was it on Monday or Tuesday?
Let's see.
Uh
So NFL.com has 3 days ago safety release
yeah.
from Cincinnati Hospital and returned to Buffalo. So yeah, it's been that transition period. Awesome that he was only in hospital for about a week. Uh, Obviously, like I remember, and I don't know how in tune you were with this as a kid, but my father is an ER physician, so would always hear these things. And like I remember growing up, especially in like the 90s, um, heart disease was it was death, right? You had a heart attack and you were probably going to go down. And throughout the late 90s and into the early 2000s, technology just really started to improve. And there's this medical journal I read of, or I saw. I didn't read it because I can't read medical journals, but I saw like the front thing article, in the early 2000s was talking about this guy who had recovered from a heart attack and then ran the Ironman, and like that was just like unprecedented at the time. And to think in like the last 20 years, we've gotten to the point now where it's like he can be dead for all intents and purposes, right, on the field, and now be back home in Buffalo after a week. It's
Yeah.
great to see. You love to see that. It's super exciting for him.
Neurologically intact.
Yeah,
Neurologically intact. Like it really truly is a miracle.
he has a huge, huge road ahead of him, of course. But it's just great to see that he's able to get home, which is just a battle within itself, right? And so it's awesome that that has happened. And something I would point everyone to that's listening is NPR put out an article earlier today, doing a talk through or some kind of interview with and I can never remember how to say his last name, Ryan Shazier, the Pittsburgh, what was he was a linebacker that had that really devastating injury to his
Right,
back,
right.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it left him oh no, it's to his neck. Left him paraplegic for a little bit,
Yeah.
and since then,
Mhm.
he's recovered. And yeah, the article is just talking about him and like the advice he has for Damar. And yeah, super recommend because that guy, monster for him to be back and doing what he's doing. And his progress is a great indicator that Hamlin can also have
Sure,
absolutely
sure.
fantastic progress. And we'll be tracking it, of course, but um, it's a long road. I mean, we at this point we don't even know if we'll see him back in pads, and if we will, it's not going to be anytime soon, I'm sure. So be really interesting.
At least a year.
At
At least,
least,
if at
yeah,
all. At least a year. Shout out Yellow Bojangles, see you in the audience there.
hell yeah,
Thanks for joining.
Bentley,
But
Bentley.
yeah, yeah, no, like you said, this in the past, like instant, this would have been a death sentence, right? Yeah, we definitely do have. We've come a long way. Again, shout out to those first responders on the field. Shout out to the medical staff at the Cincinnati Hospital. Wow, it really is like a miracle. It's really incredible. That he's up speaking. He was able to shout out FaceTime his team. Yeah, everything is good to go
Trending
for
upwards,
yeah,
and
trending upwards.
like it's hitting at the right time too. Like for this, Monday he's home. He's able to FaceTime with the team. I doubt he's probably even doing any facility visits, but his teammates could probably swing by and see him in person. And talk about the right time to get that boost leading into this wild card weekend, right? Um, I mean, we were already afraid of the Bills before, but now if he can be out there amping them up, that's slightly terrifying to me.
Absolutely. But hey, all we got to do is kind of relax and kind of let you know
Let
let the
things
chips
go.
fall. Now I
Yeah.
will say I don't know if we have anything for last weekend. We don't really have to get into much of last week's games or whatever. I know we're going to
Hmm.
talk about last week's Chiefs game for sure.
Yeah.
But that kickoff return was wild.
So I
That
missed
kickoff,
it. I missed it.
you missed it. Oh,
I need a little bit of a breakdown because you're
you
right.
missed.
We're going to talk briefly about the Chiefs Raiders, but then we're pretty much going to hop into wild card. So yeah, anything you have work or not work related. Oh my God, my brain really is taking a dumpster on me today, isn't it? Anything other game related. Yeah, let's hear this. Let's hear this kick return.
I mean, all I'm just gonna say is just like, man, if I can't even say it. The who said it best was actually Jason Kelsey
Mm,
on. I know we always bring up New Heights, but there's those people out there who think the NFL is scripted and all these games like are like scripted a certain way, and there is kind of a seemingly, I guess, in on Twitter, I would say, like in among the fan community, there's a lot of people feeling like they're doing a lot of things right now to skew in favor of the Bills.
mm-hmm.
Uh, and then when you see that kickoff return to start the game, the kickoff return for a touchdown, that might contribute to any theory that you have. Like, yo, this is not real. This is
Right.
like it was just way too storybook. Like, just an emotional moment. You got the national anthem being sang, like you're zooming in on all the players. There's a lot of emotion in the building. Then they do a kickoff return. Patriots kick the ball off to the Bills. And keep in mind, I'm cheering harder than I ever want to in life for the New England Patriots at this moment.
Right.
And I know it's like, I know it's such a, everybody's like, oh my gosh, the Bills, like, they're the darling right now, but
Uh-huh.
damn it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
we still Chiefs fans. He's healthy and everything. I'm
he's
like,
fine. He's not going to die. We can stop worrying about it.
exactly.
Go
I
Patriots.
was like,
And then yeah, this happens.
exactly. I was like, nah, we want that. We want to lock this up. But when they got that kick return to start the game for a pick stick or for a touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
I said, yep, it's gonna be a long day for New England, and
Time to
yeah,
maybe just turn the TV off and call it a day, right?
I tweeted
Uh,
out, I said, Chiefs fans, just start getting your travel plans together and figuring out where you would like to have the AFC Championship, as if
right.
we had to say, but like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
If only we did.
yeah, I was like, because this is happening. We are likely going to face either of course, if we make it, because we have to make it too. We still got a game to play.
Hmm.
We can't overlook the next opponent, but it's looking like we're gonna be in Atlanta. Looking
Absolutely.
like we're gonna be in Atlanta.
Man.
Um,
Did you see though the fun little stat tied to that kickoff return too though?
three
Is
months or
3 years
3 years
and 3 months to the day.
since the last kick return. Yeah,
And freaking yeah, and Hamlin's number, of course, for anyone not familiar, is three. So yeah, you're talking about
exactly.
scripted. I mean, and yeah, it's obviously not, but shoot, sometimes there are little things that happen in the world that can just be like, all right, maybe there is a higher power because that was that was something else. Yeah, when I heard about it, man, I was like, all right, glad I didn't even bother turning the TV on because holy moly.
It
So
was it was actually a decent game for most of it, but then like toward the end, like you just weren't going to stop these Bills. Like
no.
they had too much momentum going for them. So yeah, they looked good. They came in, handled business, and if we face them, it's going to be at a neutral site because they did what they were supposed to do,
Hmm.
and we did what we were supposed to do. Luckily, the Chiefs destroyed the Raiders 31-13 at Arrowhead West or whatever you want to call
Yeah, wherever it. Yeah,
it. Arrowhead
we got
Casino.
Arrowhead High, we got Arrowhead West, and we got Arrowhead Wester. I feel,
Exactly.
it's just where we're at.
Arrowhead
Yeah.
Southwest.
So, oh man, yeah. If we want to shift to that game, honestly, as the slides show, I don't know what there is to really say about this. Um,
I got a few things. I would
we,
say
yeah.
go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead. Well, you go first.
I think so. Like, one of the things we were struggling with a lot as a team, and then also, us individually on the podcast, was that month of December and like the tail end of November. The Chiefs were playing to the level of whatever team we were facing. So if we were facing a
Yes.
good team, we were playing well. If we were facing a bad team, we were playing bad. This is the first game I feel like in a while this season. I say a while, it's been a couple months or whatever. That we played the way the Chiefs should play against a team playing the way they should play, and that felt good because the Raiders definitely one of the lower end teams this year. Yeah, okay, they came in with a backup quarterback. What's his name? Stidham, is that right?
Jared,
Um,
yeah, Jared
yeah.
Stidham.
So a little bit of give there. Um, gotta account for it. Second string quarterback, but he played to the level, or we played to our capabilities against them, which really for me makes going not just into this bye week, but then into the divisional round next weekend, a weekend after this one, a lot more comfortable, feeling like okay, maybe we're just like back in it now, kind of thing. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said, we look like a team. We look like the team that we're supposed to look like a quote, like a number one seed, which we are. We looked like a number one seed, handling a team that has no shot at the postseason this year. And it's still, I am a firm believer that divisional games record doesn't matter for the most part. Um, and so it could have been a battle, but that team is, divisional rival aside, that team is not a good team,
Right.
and they got rid of they benched Derek Carr. They officially released him today, but they had benched him for this game.
Hmm.
They're in rebuilding mode. That's not going to mean they won't give us their best shot, but they don't really have a good shot to give, and so we know our Chiefs team. We know how good they can be, and we know they can play down to competition sometimes. And so there was a lot of potential for that to happen this game. And just given the fact it was a divisional rival, it could have looked a lot uglier than it did. But as you say on slide number 2, we looked good. And slide number 3, they didn't. Sorry, bullet point number 2 and number 3, we looked good. They didn't.
Right.
I do want to just kind of point out uh, one thing I like about this is the way we're spreading the ball around, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're really, I mean, it's actually funny that I forgot that Travis Kelce has not had a touchdown in
I
6
was
games.
that was about to be, yeah, one thing I did want to talk about. Shocking. I honestly didn't even realize it
Yeah, I
until
didn't
I saw
either.
that
Yeah,
stat today, I think it was even.
right.
I knew he had a couple of games where, he was in and out of it. I think he had there was that one game he was a little injured, or the sick game, his little flu game, where unlike Michael Jordan, he didn't play well whatsoever. But I didn't realize, like, since then he also still just really hasn't scored a touchdown. So um, I think the other games maybe you can account it for. We've been playing some pretty good defenses, or even when we're against the Texans, clearly those teams game planned to play against Kelsey. I felt like the Raiders, at least the way their defense was playing, it kind of blew my mind that Kelsey not only just didn't get a touchdown, but didn't get better stats, because I felt like we were just shredding their defense. Maybe they were going wholesale on stopping Kelsey and banking at that. So I don't know. Yeah, crazy stats, 6 games, because up until then, you know me, I was making a case where he should be MVP, right? And then since then, looking at the last 6 games, sure, his yardage has been good in a lot of games, but no touchdowns, and my argument is on shaky legs, and probably can't be
Yeah.
made anymore for sure. So
I mean, no, I mean, let's be real. I never thought he was going to be MVP. I
hmm.
mean, like, look at what Mahomes is doing compared
Oh
to all the
yeah.
other quarterbacks, like let alone any other offensive player. But I would just say, like, I really am taking it as more of a good sign than anything. Not because I don't think Travis is doing well. I just think it shows we don't need to rely on our. In the past, it would have been like either we had to rely on either Kelsey or Tyreek Hill, and that hasn't really been the case this year. You know, it's more kind of like Mahomes' first year coming out, like the first couple games at least, like he was kind of dishing it to whoever. You know,
Yeah,
Sammy got a piece, Robinson got a piece, Sausage got a piece. Now you got McKinnon getting a lot of pieces.
right.
You got Watson getting some. Tony, man, Tony's a freak, bro.
Yeah,
I'm excited for Tony, man. Like I hope he stays healthy. I'm a
yeah.
little concerned about just his ability to stay on the field, but when he is on the field, Jesus, man,
And
like
some of
he's
some
a
of those
freak.
cuts he was making were hurting my legs. I'm just
Bro,
like,
he
shit.
he
There's,
broke some of my ankles.
yeah,
Bro, he AI'd us. He AI'd
right.
somebody. Bro.
That was insane. He put him
Those are
down.
basketball moves, man. Those are
Right.
basketball moves on the court or on the field. I was like, man, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
yeah, like it was a fun one to watch. And it's always good to see that, like especially against the Raiders.
especially against the Raiders.
You love when our team we can come out and dominate the Raiders. They did not like it. They're and shout out to the fans, man.
Hmm.
It was red. It was red in that stadium,
Do you,
like all across all across the stands.
So usually I don't really care when an NFL team wants to move or does make a move, especially like when the Rams moved from St. Louis to LA, and that team's ping ponged all around the country, right?
Right,
I typically don't care if they want to build a different stadium, all that kind of stuff. The more I see, of them playing in Vegas and when we're playing them in Vegas, it's it's stopped being an NFL stadium and it almost seems more like a tourist attraction, which I mean, they moved to the right city for that, and that's probably why they are over there now, over in Las Vegas, because everybody wants to go to Vegas, especially the
right,
type of people who go to Chiefs games.
right.
It is not working in their favor when it comes to fans. So, and maybe they need a little bit of time because Vegas has never had a team, right? Like at least when the Rams moved from St. Louis to LA, there was history there. Or LA's had teams before, all this kind of stuff. So there are football fans in LA, but Vegas has never had a team. So maybe they just need a little bit of time to build a fan base that'll show up. This season, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe it was sometime during the last season, the stadium opened up right as COVID was in full swing. And it even got to a point where like the NFL was allowing partial fans, partial people partial seats to be sold. But now I'm just totally blanking on his name. I just remember him as the bad haircut. But what's the owner's name? It's Mark
Mark,
Davis. Is that right?
yeah,
I,
Mark
I, I
Davis.
was
Yeah,
about to say Al Davis, which is his dad.
I was going to say Mark Andrews.
Right. But
We're all over the place.
Mark Davis is really proud of the stadium. He should be. It's a beautiful stadium. But he said he wouldn't open up the stadium to fans until it could be a full stadium experience, which, major props to him. I do have to give him that. But like essentially, he moved the team to Vegas, built this new stadium, and then it also just sat empty for a chunk of change too. So
Sure.
like getting that fan base in there and it's not a case where it's like a couple hour drive from where the team used to be or, any of those kind of moves or, even that drive from like San Diego to LA, which I think is 4 hours. I think San Fran to Las Vegas is significantly longer. So it's not even a case where like the Charger fans have the ability to, travel down to LA and see a game there. I'm
Yep.
hoping that's the case because I don't want there to be a tourist stadium in the NFL, right? Like a stadium should be dominated by that team's fans, in my opinion. And when it's not, when it's equal numbers or whatever, I see that as a failure of the team and something that should be taken seriously.
Right.
That's me. That's my view. I also think it's awesome to see it mostly be red. So I really hope that kind of does shift. Vegas kind of grows that fan base, and it probably needs to. Um, but yeah, that's now on my bucket list personally. Like I have this list of stadiums of games I want to go see, and I definitely want to go to that uh, stadium and see a game there with the Chiefs, hopefully.
Yeah. No. I think. Well, one, I would say. There's a lot of Raiders fans in
There
Los
is
Angeles,
yeah, Compton,
so
especially, right?
yeah, it's not a far drive from Vegas for them. Like people in LA do road trips to Vegas all the
Mm,
time. So I honestly think, I mean, I think winning cures everything. You can grow the fan base inherently in the city of Las Vegas, because there's believe it or not, people, if you've never been to Vegas, there is a city outside of the strip, and it's a pretty nice city. Like people there's people who live there.
Right,
So
right. Some people do call it home.
yeah. So I think you can definitely convert those people. Obviously, like if you start putting up wins, not that I'm like rooting. I mean, it's the Raiders, right? So it's not
Right.
like I'm rooting for the Raiders, but I'm saying if you're for as an NFL franchise, if you can make yourself a solid franchise, start putting wins on the board, you know, make people interested. Those people from LA, they're still Raiders fan out there. They'll make
Hmm.
that drive. They'll make that drive. You'll have your home field advantage. I you know the move, it wasn't like I now, and I've looked into. I know there was like issues with Oakland, right? Just I mean, because if you kind of look at it, that stadium they had sucked.
Oh,
Like that stadium,
they would have to miss games because there was like sewage coming up on the
yeah,
field
man.
and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, that stadium was terrible. So
awful.
they definitely upgraded stadiums. Obviously, there's probably a lot more money going in. It is Vegas or whatever. It seemed like a good idea on paper if you think about it. It's a destination. It's a place people want to travel to. They just don't have a winning product on the field, and I think winning can make a place like um New England appealing, or Green
Yeah,
Bay. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like
right.
those type of places where it's like, or Kansas City. I mean,
Okay.
before, you know, Kansas City, I know is becoming a spot now, but it didn't always used to be. Let's be
Right.
real.
No, there's
So,
yeah, the 90s were not a great time for Kansas City, absolutely.
but it was
So,
some great football. It just
yeah.
wasn't like a destination. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But Arrowhead was always full. You look at them old games, Arrowhead was full. But yeah, what I'm saying is winning cures everything. They start putting up some wins. They figure out what they're going to do with their quarterback situation. You know, bringing a star, they'll be all right. And just make sure you win your games, except for against us.
Yeah, and for me it's just like it's purely I see it as an issue because this is how a rivalry can die if they lose fans or if their fans become, passive or blasé about
Right.
the team, then it's no longer fun. Like that's why the Chiefs Raiders fandom has all or rivalry has always been so great is because no matter where the two teams were at in the standings, there were always rabid fans available in order to make that rivalry be felt.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, there's still some things there, but we're missing the black hole, dude. And I really hope that, like, that's the group of Raiders fans that I want to see there, and it's just not in Vegas. So, yeah, I think you're right. It's like maybe it's a case where, like, once they start putting a winning product on the field, once the economy really does start to rebound a little bit better for everyone, all that kind of stuff. Maybe this does change, and then get the grassroots going a little bit in Vegas too. Get some more locals in the Vegas area to sign on to that because you're right. There is a city around Vegas, but not so many people are born in Vegas. A lot of people move to Vegas, kind of deal. So it's kind of one of those cities where it does bring in a lot of people from other places who bring their fandoms with them.
Transference.
So hopefully,
Yeah.
now that they have a team there, I mean, their hockey team has been huge lately, and that just
Yeah.
started a little bit before the Raiders got there, and then the Raiders are there now, and so they're really starting to build a product out there. They got a great
Yeah.
semi-pro soccer team out there, or I don't I said semi-pro. They're a tier two team, so it's like it's becoming a sports town. It's not being it's still a tourist town, a gambling town, but it's starting to become a sports town. And I really just hope to see that rivalry come back, a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say to kind of to your point, LA is a transplant city too,
Yeah.
and when the Chargers and the Rams both got there recently, there wasn't a whole lot of. I mean, there was probably some old school Rams fans from there,
Mhm.
from back in the day, but that was still a Raider town, LA.
Mhm.
That was still a Raider town. But both of those teams are doing pretty well, and well, not this year, but I mean, the Rams
But
won the Super
overall,
Bowl
yeah, yeah,
last
yeah.
year. And the Chargers, you know, they've got a young star. They've got some talent on there. They can be exciting to watch. And I think you're starting to see. I remember like not too long ago, maybe just like a couple years ago, like Chargers. It's like you watch a Chargers game and you see like every other fan base.
Mhm.
Now you still see obviously a lot of Chiefs fans. You see a lot of Cowboys fans at those games, and you see a lot of Raiders fans too. But you see some Chargers fans now. I would say.
Yeah.
I think they're starting to kind of get that back. So I think Vegas, the Raiders can too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that we spent definitely more time talking
Well,
about the
it's an
fans
interesting
base. Yeah,
subject, but
it's just like this is
we whoop their ass, of course.
right.
Like,
We
what else we
what
gonna
else is
say?
going on? No, yeah. It's like this is what we got to focus on because that's how much we won the game, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, the only other thing I just had to even mention about this game that was game specific is it's always nice to be reminded of just how good at the game Tommy Townsend is, because
yeah,
quite frequently, there'll be games where he doesn't even get a punt or he gets one or two. And he had just had absolutely massive one that it landed pretty much on the 3 yard line, and instead of
yep,
bouncing to the end zone, it just bounced straight up. And it's like then he did his little Pat McAfee thing, which I think Pat got it from Conor McGregor.
yeah.
Man,
It's McGregor.
love
Yeah,
to see that strut.
yep,
So
yep, yep. Yeah,
I know it's punting's one of those funny things where it's like you never want to, or you never want to be in a position where you need a good punter because that means you're punting a lot. But when you have one and you need to use them, it's good to see. Because I think everyone who listens to the podcast knows my feelings about special teams as a general. But man, punting and Tommy Townsend, it's probably the big bright spot there. So I love
it's
it.
like a great job, either punting or being a second string quarterback or third string
Right?
quarterback in the NFL.
Just collect that minimum, then maybe get a start here and there, but otherwise,
Right.
just living good. All right,
But yeah,
that's pretty much all I had for it. So good game, and I don't. I
hey,
mean, well, hold on, let me pull up keep the receipts real quick. Did any of us get close here? I don't think so. But I
I
said
think I'll put the Chiefs in the 30s.
31-27. Yeah, you said
Yeah.
34-21, so you were a lot closer. Well, I guess yeah. I was 6 off on your Raiders. You were 3 off on my Chiefs, so you were definitely closer. Good. Well done.
All right.
There we go. All right.
Get it. What's
Uh,
next?
well, typically we would talk about other games in the NFL. Honestly, when I was putting the slides
I'm just gonna
together,
lie.
I looked through the outcomes of the games. I just like the Chiefs performed as expected against the Raiders. I feel like every other game out there went exactly as anyone would have guessed. I think the only game to even consider talking about is the Titans Jaguars. But frankly, all you
That
really
was the
need
most
that
entertaining.
was the most
That
entertaining, and it had the
that was
most
the
on the
most.
line, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That game. So for those who need it, Jaguars won. Essentially, what it was is that on the line was the AFC South slot. And so whoever won went to the playoffs, and that was probably the most on the line game, with the exception of also the Lions and Packers, where the Packers had to, do a win and you're in, and I just absolutely love the fact that the Lions won that game because it was good endings there. But yeah, I think those were the only two games to really talk about. But maybe the only two surprises, and even then, the Lions really picked it up at the end of the season. So no real surprise that they beat the Packers, other than that they beat them in Lambeau. And then I feel like with just how hot the Jags have been the back half of this season, there was no way they weren't going to win this game against the Titans.
Yeah.
So instead, we're going to focus on Wildcard Weekend and talk through each game real quick. Oh, and then yeah, I forgot about my first point here. I
I was
just
gonna say, what are you ranting
it's
about?
man,
I'm curious.
yeah. So I had started to talk about it over the past couple of podcasts, but I just really wanted to bring it here. We were talking about the fact, we just talked about the Lions Packers game. Lions ended the season 9-8, which congratulations, you ended up a little bit over 500, but at the end of the day, you ended with a winning record. One of my issues with the NFL is how playoffs work. I understand the fact that everybody loves every division gets to send one team to the playoffs. It sickens me beyond belief, though, that a team can get into the playoffs with a losing record when a team with a winning record is staying at home. Um, I think it's bad for the competition. I think it's bad for the NFL. I think it's a bad look on the NFL. I understand that there could probably be some seasons where the seventh best team in the league does have a losing record, or sorry, on that side of the conference does have a losing record. But frankly, at the end of the day, the Lions were a significantly superior team most of the season compared to the Buccaneers, who did end up getting in on an 8-9 record. Uh,
True.
it just it annoys me. I don't think it's worth it, and maybe you have a good way to refute this or a reason to refute this. I don't think you should ever reward a team with a lesser record over somebody with a better record simply because there's an obligation to have a representation from every division. And then on top of that, if we pull up the actual bracket, I'm sorry, and I started to minimize something there. If you pull it up, and this happens in both the AFC and the NFC this year, looking at the bracket itself, and where I had this pulled up, I swear, goodness gracious. Bracket for playoffs. So the Buccaneers, with a losing record, are now going to be hosting. Um,
The
where are we at?
Cowboys,
The Cowboys.
Dallas. Mm-hmm.
I'm speechless. I'm honestly speechless because the Dallas Cowboys ended the season what 12-4, 13 and no, not 13 and 3, 12-4 or 11-5. And they
Yeah,
have to travel now to Tampa Bay to play at Tampa Bay against a team who went 8-9.
yeah,
And so like, okay, fine. If we need to make the argument that every division deserves to have representation in the playoffs, great. Can we please stop giving them home games too? Because it's silly that the Cowboys. Now, I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Buccaneers because the Cowboys are just that much better of a team, other than Tom
Oh, I
Brady
don't.
doing Tom Brady things, and Tom Brady is the crux of that, right? Uh, but it just seems incredibly unfair. Here's me saying something's unfair that would benefit the Cowboys if it was flipped around in my view, which I never in a million years thought I would say. It's just it seems wrong to me that a team with a losing record gets to host a playoff game when you could easily just flip the seeding around, make the Buccaneers the seventh seed, make them travel to go play. Who's the second seed? Is it the Vikings? Make them travel to go play against the Vikings, and then the Cowboys get to host, being the number three seed per their record, as it
Sure.
should be. So it's like, okay, fine. If we have to include the division winners, at the very least, can we make them be a team that travels? So that's my
Yeah,
big rant.
that's no. That I think you make a fair point with that because yeah, the Buccaneers. Obviously, I mean, deserve to get in the playoffs. That's one thing. I mean, because I would say I do think that this is what makes those divisional rivalries important and
Hmm.
interesting. Is like the winner of that division does get in, right? And I think it adds value to winning your division. So I kind of like it for that reason. But to your point, as far as like the seeding, once you're in, yeah, and you get to host a playoff game against a team that's actually better than you,
Hmm.
yeah, that's wonky. Yeah, that's wonky. Which the Cowboys played like crap last week, so we'll see. we'll
We'll
see.
see. We'll see.
We'll see what actually happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That is a little wonky that they get to do that.
Because it's going to
I
happen on
would,
the other side of the bracket too. The Jags will be hosting the Chargers, and the Chargers are one game better record-wise. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not that big of a disparity, unlike what the Cowboys Buccaneers is. It's just I don't know. I feel like if you
yeah,
have the better record, okay, fine, let them in. But if you have the better record, you should get the honor of hosting.
yeah, yeah. I'd agree with that. I actually think that's a fair assessment.
Because the
Um,
the other way you have to look at this, right? And for me to just continue to beat this home, is that if the Cowboys do win and then they move on to the next level, they're still the fifth seed. So it's entirely
on the road the
possible
whole time.
that they go to the championship as the road team against a team with a significantly worse record than them.
Yeah. Well, who else is
And I said significantly worse record. They're actually so like the other teams that could host them would be the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Vikings. So they were all about equal there. Um, the
but you're saying if
scenario,
like one of those teams are like 7-9 and both like somehow like the Cowboys and one of those teams made it to the championship. You're saying if like that's a scenario that a losing team could host the AFC champ or
Or not
host the
just
NFC championship
yeah, not just even a
against.
losing team, but like what if there was a team with a 9-8 record who got there, or a 10-7 record that then
Sure,
hosted a 12-5 team? It just
sure,
it's a bad taste, right? Um, and even worse for the Cowboys, they're over there with that 12-5 record, which is the third, fourth best record in going into the playoffs. Their away record is atrocious. They do not play well on the road at all. So their punishment for being slightly worse than the Eagles is going on the road, when instead they probably should at least be hosting this game, if not future games.
sure. Yeah, no, I got nothing for that.
Yeah.
I understand. I
All right.
understand. No, I actually do think that's a fair assessment. I would just push back on the. I do like the divisional thing.
Mm,
I like that you. It's important to win your division. You win your division, you're in. That makes those rivalries more intense. That makes that all of that matter a lot more. You know what I'm saying? So again, what we were just talking about, like we don't want to lose our the the fun that's
mm-hmm.
being rivals with the Raiders or the Chargers or the Broncos. That's how you keep that.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways you keep that, in my opinion. Um,
No,
I would also say that
you're right. Yeah.
yeah, and then one thing I would just add is that also kind of adds to, I guess, the benefit of adding that seventh team into the
Mm,
playoffs. So now that whereas before, um, a team like the Lions would have been screwed either way, right? Because they didn't have that 7 seed before.
right.
At least this time they actually did have a chance. It just didn't play out the way we would have wanted to for that team.
Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't like a case of like the last week of the season they needed 12 pieces to fall the way they did. They were eliminated before the last week, so they knew going in. It's not like they got screwed that way.
No,
Um,
they had a chance up until the Seahawks
oh, the
ended up
Seahawks
win.
won. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is, without that 7 seed, they probably wouldn't have had a chance at all.
Period. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I do, yeah, the expanded format's great. Sucks that only one team gets a bye, but hey, I also like that it's a bigger reward now instead of like just
sure.
having to fight for the number two. Would you ever want to see expanded to 8 teams, or do you think that just starts to get too big?
Yeah, I don't. I kind of think that unless a 7 seed wins the Super Bowl, I also kind of think the 7 seed was a little unnecessary. But
Mm,
I get the benefit behind it. So I'm cool with the 7 seed, but I don't think we need an 8. I don't think we need to keep adding.
no.
Yeah, I want there to be some kind of importance for. Uh,
Your actual season record
yeah,
instead
yeah,
instead of limping in at the eighth seed and then yeah getting hot in January. I'm with you. Yeah,
yeah.
100%. All right. So yeah, that was my big rant. Rest of the games though. So I figured we'd just start, and I think this is the order of what they're being broadcast. So the first game on Saturday, this coming 2 days from now, will be Seahawks versus 49ers.
Niners gonna tap that ass.
It's,
They're really good, bro.
I mean,
They're really good.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around them being good because of how much we dismantled them. Um, but
Oh yeah.
the
I mean,
more,
that was
yeah,
I was what you're right, man. Like it's like them and they're kind of like they're kind of like the Bengals of the NFC. Like
mm,
they both started off kind of but then they both kind of just they flipped the switch, figured it out late in the season.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, when we played them, they weren't the same. They definitely weren't the same Niners that they are now. They also had a different starting quarterback. Now, how much stock you want to put in that? Because most people are saying it's the defense is the reason they're
yeah.
doing so good. I don't know how much stock you want to put in the Brock Purdy over Jimmy G, but Brock Purdy's balling.
I
Brock
think
Purdy's balling too. So
I think people are correct that it is defense making the changes or making the difference, and I say that because like up until even including our game, it wasn't the week until after our game against them that they really started to get a lot of their starters back from injury. They had a lot of injury problems on defense. A couple of the players were back against the Chiefs, but they were also facing the Chiefs. They were facing one of the best offensive lines in the game, facing Patrick Mahomes. And then that was also the week that they had just acquired CMC too, so he hadn't had a chance to really,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
get the playbook. Even then, it didn't matter because I think he scored at least one touchdown. I think he might have scored two against us. So he's just off there flexing how good of a player he was. But you're right. They were his second half of the season team. I think less because they were figuring things out, more just because they were getting their team back from the injury list. It just also goes to show how important it is for your athletic trainer and your team's fitness group to be really good. Because one thing that the Chiefs have had this year that a lot of other teams haven't is incredibly small injury list.
Sure.
And I know we have one of the best athletic trainers in the league on our side, and it's paying off huge. So glad to see the
Absolutely.
49ers get healthy. I think you're right that they will beat the Seahawks. It's not the upset I'm predicting by any means. If they were to upset, I would be surprised, but not as surprised as some other ones that might come through.
Yeah, I will say that. I mean, the Seahawks got in. Congrats to them. They
Hmm.
were, I guess, I think on this list, just kind of looking at this, at least between the, at least in the NFC, they're definitely. Well, actually, that's hard to say because I would have said the Niners were a surprise team too up until a certain point, but
Hmm.
yeah, Seahawks, Niners, both
First half of the
surprising
season,
everyone.
yeah, first half. If we only took the first half of the season, like you're saying, Seahawks and Niners are an incredible surprise. I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess the ones Seahawks are the ones that everyone's going to count out, and understandably so. But they could still give the Niners the business. We'll see. I'm still picking the Niners in that one, but
Hmm.
that could be an interesting game.
It's kind of that weird spot for me where it's like I don't think it's quite interesting enough that I'm going to go out of my way to watch it. Uh, but if there's nothing else going on, I'll probably have it on, the TV, just because I'm curious
Sure,
to see. Because I think the 49ers are also huge contenders for the Super Bowl with the form they've been on. So it'll be good to watch them and just like understand them as a team as we get closer and closer to the potential fact that they could be playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
sure. Yeah. Next one. Chargers, Jags.
All right,
Chargers, Jags. I think
who
this
do
is
you
going
got
to be the
this?
most evenly matched.
Agreed.
Uh, I think most people are going for the Jags. But I think they forgot that the Chargers are actually pretty good. I think. And they're actually, I said they were getting healthy. They had what? They lost Mike Williams though,
Mm,
didn't they?
yeah.
And then they also lost Joey Bosa. So maybe never mind. Maybe the Jags got it. I don't know. I just feel like these two are gonna be. This is gonna be a fun one to watch. I think these two are a pretty evenly matched team, and I kind of like the idea behind this being the Sunshine Bowl. Like
Mm,
they both,
yeah. Oh yeah.
like they both
Both
look
pretty
like
boy
the dude from
quarterbacks. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, and they're both talented too. So, um, yeah, I guess let me take a look at that. I want to see Joey Bosa's hurt, and
See,
what's his name?
Mike Williams.
Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Those are very important pieces to that team. So
And
that is a game changer, I would say.
with that, as well as just with the Chargers' kind of history in playoffs, I am honestly willing to say that I think the Seahawks 49ers game will be a closer matchup, scoreboard wise, than the Chargers Jags. I
Sure.
think on paper, Chargers Jags, especially both teams are very healthy, is the most even matchup wild card game this week. But if you don't have Bosa, that
Just
really.
to interject,
Oh yeah.
he is listed. He will play.
Okay.
Mike Williams is listed as questionable.
Okay. Okay. So that's good. Better news for them. Jags are getting hot at the right time. Doug Peterson has proven that he can be a top tier caliber coach. I think
Sure.
he won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, right? But
Sure.
then,
Yeah, yeah.
the tail end of his tenure there was a little rough. He also didn't really have great players around him at that time. Now he's got Trevor Lawrence. He's got an incredible defense. I think an incredibly underrated defense with the Jaguars. And the skill position players at the Jags are really starting to come online with that chemistry that they've been building. What's that receiver's name? He was even on my fantasy team. Wow. I'd have to look it up, but it's like one of the important things that we've been talking about just all year long is the chemistry and how important that chemistry is between a quarterback and a skill position receivers. I think if we saw at the beginning of the year, Lawrence still he had an awful first year under an awful. Oh, am I
You're sir. I
Okay.
can hear you.
I think I
Sorry.
lost it for a little bit there. No worries. He had an awful first year under a genuinely awful coach. I think without a doubt we all see now just how terrible Urban was as an NFL
You're right.
coach because of how much success Doug Peterson has had. It did take him a little bit to get started, because you're
1 year
implementing a
though.
whole new system. Not even a year, half a year almost,
Yeah.
right?
First season.
Yeah.
Yeah, first season.
And they're turning around with this. I think it's a double digit win for the Jags here. And no 20 points, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying
Hmm.
about how they've been showing streaks. They've been hot, and the coaching skill of Doug Peterson is definitely something to take notice of. I just think their last game against the Titans was a lot closer than and maybe that's another divisional. Like I said, I
Hmm.
do think those are important, and that game had stakes. That game was you're in or you're out, right? But even knowing that they win and they're in, I don't think they played their best game.
Right.
So they look sluggish in that game. If they come out sluggish in this one too, I'll have my concerns.
It's
Um,
yeah, one of those games where it's like you'll probably know how the game's going to go depending on how the first quarter goes, is what you're saying?
yeah, 100%,
I like it.
100%. Yeah, so you're picking the Jags. I'm gonna stick
I
with the
am.
Chargers on this one, especially now that I see Bosa's healthy. Yeah,
That's
I'm
that's a
going with the
huge
Chargers.
crux of it too. But the Jags do have
Hmm.
that tackle, Sheriff. He's a monster. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if Bosa's lining up on the other side from him, it stops being a thing. But yeah, that left tackle guy, he's crazy. So I think that'll be a really fun matchup. But yeah, no, I that's one of those games that I will try to turn it on, and I think that's 7:30 Central Time on Saturday, if I'm remembering correctly. So perfect little dinner time, game time.
Sure. Yeah. So next one, Dolphins Bills. Bills got a surprise bye week because the
I,
I mean,
no, you're
you
right.
know, man, I don't see. I mean, it'd be one thing if Tua's hurt and then you got Teddy Bridgewater coming in, but he's hurt too. He down
Hmm.
your third string. The Dolphins have lost their last they lost their last six games
Six games, I think. Yeah, like it's
except for
five of their
this
last
one.
six or something. Yeah.
Five of their last six or something like that. They are speaking of limping into the playoffs. They are limping into the playoffs. This team is limping in the playoffs, and I just don't see them pulling an upset, especially with the momentum the Bills are on right now. I don't see it.
And yeah, no, I have nothing to add to that. I tried to think of something, and it's like, well, no. Maybe the only chance they really have is if they just run a bunch of jet sweeps with Tyreek and Waddle and hope for the best. But even then,
Right?
the Bills' defense is good enough that it won't matter.
Yeah.
If
Like the only thing that would stop them, I think, is if the Bills overlook them. Which I mean, that could happen, but I
hmm
I highly doubt it.
one thing to consider, like you were just saying though, it is a divisional game.
It
So
is divisional, but it's a
and
divisional with like your
no
third
two,
string.
yeah, no two, yeah. I think one thing a lot of people are holding on to is the fact that the Dolphins did beat the Bills this season.
True.
They also beat them very early on in the year when Tua hadn't been hurt yet.
Yes.
I think one thing people are forgetting is that Tua spent a lot of this season playing hurt one degree or another, and anyone who's had a concussion knows that yeah, maybe you can play a football game a week later, you're still not going to feel well. So
Right.
you know, Tua's been playing hurt for a long time. If he's not in this game, the Dolphins don't have a chance. If he was in
Right.
this game and he was 100% healthy, we're having a totally different discussion. I really hope he gets better in the offseason. I can't wait to see what it's like next year because, yeah, everyone was talking up how great the AFC West was going to be this year. Man, if people are healthy in the AFC East next year, that's going to be the division, you know?
Oh,
Um,
I agree.
so,
I agree.
yeah, I think we're both agreed that this game, you said it best. Bill's got a surprise bye week because it's going to be Snoozeville.
Yeah, because even the second matchup with them was pretty good. I mean,
Hmm.
I know the Bills won, but it was a good game. I think Tua played in that too, though, right? Then was he played in that one as well?
Yeah, he was not in a good spot though, from what I remember.
No,
Uh,
no,
but like you said, it was still close. So
yeah, but this third time, there's no way.
there's no way.
This third time they're getting steamrolled. So yeah, I'm going with the Bills.
Vikings Giants. I think this game's going to be. Am I prepared to say the best game of the weekend? I think
What?
maybe it's going to be the most entertaining to watch of the
Interesting.
NFC games, I would say for sure. Uh,
Interesting.
I think I have a little more interest in the Jags Chargers, but when it comes to Sunday games and NFC games, I think this Giants Vikings game is going to be the best one because maybe it's because we're just so out of the NFC circle. We didn't have any NFC East opponents or anything like that. I feel like the Giants, we as a podcast haven't talked about them a lot, and I feel like Twitter and the other sports spheres that we're into also haven't talked about them a lot for good reason because the Cowboys and the Eagles are also in that division, and Cowboys and Eagles have been top tier. But I think the Giants are better than anyone's willing to put money on. And I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, if this one if both teams put up a high 30s, low 40s burger, and you know it comes down to overtime. I think it's going to be a really great game.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I can't
The
wait to be proven
reason
wrong.
I agree with you that I think this is probably the most evenly matched team on the evenly matched matchup on the NFC side, whereas the Chargers Jags is the most evenly matched matchup on the AFC side. But I'm not gonna lie, I think both of these teams are a joke. It's like that clown that meme where soldiers are sneaking into the wherever they're sneaking into, and then
Hmm.
there's like a clown in their ranks.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I think these are the two clowns. I just don't see it. The only reason I'm taking the Vikings in this one is because I know the Vikings can put up a lot of points in the air,
Hmm.
and I think once it becomes like a shootout like that, the Giants really they have a great run game, but I don't really believe in Daniel Jones like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that he'd be able to match firepower if it does become a shootout. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
can see. I don't think the Vikings are good. I think they're the most frustrating team in the NFL. Like if I was a Vikings fan, I think I tweeted this
Yeah.
out. Like, is this team good? I literally do not know.
I
I
had
don't know if this team is good.
I had no idea they've never won a Super Bowl. I totally forgot about that
Oh yeah,
because I remember them. I mean, you know, it's like they had the Purple People Eaters for a while, you know, back in what was that, the 80s, the early 90s.
yeah, yeah,
And of course, you know, they played against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 4, so they've had good teams in the past. I just never realized that none of those teams managed to, yeah, win at all. So,
1998.
hey,
1998. That kicker Gary, I think, what's his name?
oh God.
1998.
Yeah, you got me lost there.
Well, I'm just saying everyone talks about Gary Anderson. Everyone
Oh
talks
yeah.
about how that was like the best team. Oh, this would add to your kicker fire. You know,
Hey, you're
even though
starting
I
to
don't
find
really
out
blame.
there's a lot of things that I don't.
Yeah, right. But that was a team that people would have thought would have won a Super Bowl. I know the 2000 Vikings, I think, were pretty good, and then
Hmm.
they ended up losing to I don't remember, just like I think it was the Rams of
Oh,
that
the
era
greatest show on
or
turf.
something like
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah,
when they did that. Yeah.
but yeah, they've had good teams throughout the years. Even even that year they had the Minnesota Miracle. They've had solid teams. They just
Hmm.
they never get to the big dance, and when they get there, they can't get it done. They were like the Eagles were like that for a while
Yeah,
too. You know,
true.
like you would have thought the Eagles have had like a ton of Super Bowls. They've only won one.
Yeah,
They've
yeah,
only
well,
won
and
one. So,
especially yeah, having Andy Reid for so long,
hmm
and all that, it's like you would just assume that they won. I mean, they won the NFC Championship quite a few times, if not going to it at the very least. But no, yeah,
yeah,
you're right. It's you think the Vikings would have been really great. Their first Super Bowl was just recently. Um, yeah, Vikings same situations. But when the season began, I could have seen an argument for the Vikings being Super Bowl contenders. Since then, it's I one the Kirk Cousins curse continues to hold, and two, it's just yeah, they just have pieces that don't click. So
right.
I get what you're saying though. It's like that the where for me this is going to be a really great game is that beat up offensive line of the Vikings. They have a lot of injury problems going on. They're having some issues right now on the offensive line, and the Giants have a pretty great front four who can rush just as well as almost anyone else in the NFL. If that Vikings offensive line, even with their injury problems, can do anything in their power to stop the Giants defensive line blitz, uh, then at that point the Vikings win this game handily, because you're right in that once you put the game in Daniel Jones' hands, it's done and it's over, and the Vikings do win it. I just have a feeling that with how bad the offensive line problems with the Vikings are right now, that defense can keep the game in hand, and then like we were saying, it's their run heavy offense. If they can, stay on the field for longer than Kirk Cousins gets the ball, and then when Kirk Cousins does have the ball, he spends most of the time in the dirt. That's the win condition. Let's see if it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be an interesting game to watch for sure.
Yeah.
But so it sounds like so are you going Vikings or Giants? I'm going Vikings in that one.
I'm going Vikings just because I want them to win. I think more than
Gotcha.
anything. I think it's going to be yeah a really good game. So I'm excited to watch it. But I would not. Yeah, the Vikings are going to win this one probably.
Absolutely. Okay, cool, cool. Ravens, Bengals. Bengals get a bye week as well.
So many
And it's
bye
not
weeks.
because I know. Well, it's so funny. It's like both of those teams, the ones we want to, obviously,
To
our two
lose.
toughest
Yeah.
opponents. The ones we're let's be real, we're kind of rooting against them just because,
Right.
like, if we don't have to face them, that's great. We want to get to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
But they are both facing like third string quarterbacks, so it's like,
Man.
what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No Lamar. Ravens. Yeah. It's Bengals one. I don't know. I like that there was a scenario at some point in time where there was going to be a coin flip to decide who would host this game, and then the just Ravens fell flat on their face last week. And just,
right.
yeah, quickly became clear that nope, the Bengals are going to get a home game. So
Yeah,
there's nothing to say about
they
this.
should,
Yeah, they
they should.
should.
Yeah,
They,
yeah, they're gonna light
I
them
think we
up.
both agree that they were probably going to win that Monday night game against Buffalo.
I know
Or
they were gonna
yeah.
win.
So
I mean, I don't know they're going to win, but it definitely
it felt
between those
like that.
two
Yeah.
at the time, I thought the Bengals were coming in pretty hot. I
Mm,
thought they were the better team. I think the Bills are good, but I think just going into that game, like the Bengals were red hot. I think now if these two teams face each other, which in all likelihood they will again in Buffalo in Orchard Park, I'm thinking it'll be a little bit more even, or we'll pull, or the Bulls. God damn, I'm sorry, the Bill or the Bills will pull it out.
yeah, oh, it's
Kind
so
of the
funny.
same animal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There we go. That's it. No,
Yeah,
I,
but yeah,
I'm
Bengals.
really glad that not scripted, of course, it was going to happen no matter what. I really am glad that there is going to be that rematch, though, so that we can see who is the better of the Bills Bengals. If it was never going to happen, playoff wise, because one of them missed out or whatever the case may be, I think there would have been a lot of complaints, a lot of
Sure.
morons on Twitter saying things that they just probably should keep their mouth shut about. So now it's at the point where it's like these two teams are probably going to play against each other. Now I can't wait to see which one comes out on top, and can't wait to see which one the Chiefs get to play against in the championship game. So
Right.
good stuff.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals. Obviously,
Yeah,
it sounds like you are too.
Bengals,
So,
Bengals easy. So,
yeah, yeah.
but I will say though, of all of these games, I think this one, for no other reason than some of these games we say are even matchups, so you can't have an upset. In other games, it's just clear who's going to win. I think this one has the most potential for an upset, and surprising outcome, um, compared to the other games we've talked about.
Sure. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
yeah,
It could happen. It could
it could
happen.
any given
It's
Sunday,
still
right? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's still the divisional rival. I
Hmm.
mean, it's still John Harbaugh. You and I believe their defense. People are feeling a lot better about it now than they were at the beginning of
Mm.
the season. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. It could easily be Ravens, but
Well, the defense
um,
will be great up until Marcus Peters stubs his toe and then throws a fit and I don't know, punches somebody in the crowd. That's what I fully expect to happen because it just seems like
oh
that's
Lord,
the next level of his degeneracy to come out. So, no, yeah, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Can't wait.
yeah. All right,
And then
Cowboys
the last
Bucks.
game, Cowboys Bucks. Um, we talked about this a little bit already when I was complaining about seeding. I think the Cowboys got this.
Mm,
The the key to it, as it always is with any team he does play on, will be Tom Brady. He's got more fourth quarter drives for wins than most quarterbacks have wins in their career. It seems. Um, yeah, I think I'm going to give this to the Cowboys, but I think it will be a close game.
I
And
think it's Bucks, man.
it's going to be all about shutting down Mike Evans. I think if they can shut
Yeah,
down Mike Evans, that will frustrate Brady and not in a good way, for
sure.
Brady at least. And I mean, I think the Cowboys defense is just good enough. Now, have they played each other this year? I feel like they have, right?
First game of the season.
First game of the
They're the first
season.
game. Yeah, Thursday night season opener was Cowboys Buccaneers.
God, how did I forget
Dak
about that?
Prescott got hurt, and
That's
then
right. Okay.
yeah, Bucks got the win. And I do think it's going to be a repeat with hopefully no injuries.
Hmm.
But I definitely think the Bucks are going to take this one too, just because like the Cowboys are not looking good right now,
Hmm.
especially after last week. So you know that like last week you said you didn't watch the game. So last week you have the potential to get the number one seed and win the division. So you don't go out just knowing that. I mean, the Eagles had to lose for that to happen.
Right.
But
But
even just
still.
knowing you had the chance
Yeah.
and you play all your starters and then you go out and let the Commanders just beat the crap out of you.
Right.
Dak is tied, I think, for most interceptions this year in this season
Hmm.
with having missed 5 games due to injury. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Michael Parsons, who was at one point talks of like defensive player of the
Oh,
year and all that stuff. I
yeah.
mean, maybe that's still happening, but he hasn't really looked like what we thought he was in these last few weeks. And you're going against Tom Brady, who I think gets a second life in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Uh, I just I don't see it, man. I think and of course they're at home. And if you want to bring in history, Cowboys haven't won on the road since 1992. I mean, it's a completely different team now, so I don't know how much we stock. I know we always bring stuff like that up,
No,
but I
yeah, it's
mean,
it's still worth bringing up, right?
yeah, it's a fun little thing, but yeah, man, I think it's Bucks, man. I think it's the Bucks. The Bucks get the win at home. That's my prediction on that. Just because the Cowboys have not been playing well. They are in. They've been playing good for most of the year, but Dak has been throwing some head scratchers, man. I think that's going to continue.
Hmm. Hey, I'm excited for it. So, it'll be yeah, a good game. You're right
Yeah,
though. Yeah, it's Tom Brady. Like it's hard to bet against him, unfortunately. And the way him
yeah.
and
I
Mike
think he.
Evans have been clicking the past little bit,
Yeah,
I think I'm just a little torched because I had on I think no, just one of my fantasy teams. I had gotten Tom Brady and I was really excited and happy about that, and then he just got to the point where I benched him. you know,
right.
so it's like I think I'm still carrying a little bit of that chip on my shoulder. But
Listen,
I mean, also like you said, it's the playoffs with Tom Brady. Like He's God. I just
If
if
there's
you.
anything we know about Brady, right?
Mm-hmm.
When that man gets counted out, that just
It's when
that,
he wins.
so
You're
you
right.
know people are counting him out right now. They did not think the Bucks were going to be here, so you know he's going to come in juiced up. He just
Yeah,
is. Like this is who he is. He's a psycho. You know
that's what
what
he
I'm
do. That's what he do. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
so-
I know we're looking forward way huge here, but this is the only team I'm going to ask it about. Do you think there's a snowball chance in hell the Buccaneers make the Super Bowl?
you know, yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's two things. At the end of the day, it's still like we said, Tom Brady. Even
Still Tom
45
Brady.
year old Tom
Yeah.
Brady, playoff Tom Brady, chip on his shoulder, Tom Brady. Man just finds a way to win. I've
Mm.
I've watched enough football in my lifetime to just I gotta stop
just
doubting the man
just
until he
accept it.
retires. But I
Oh
would also
man.
say that team does have playoff experience. Like they might be limping into the playoffs, but a lot of those guys were on that Super Bowl team, so
Right.
they get a little, they get a little rhythm back. They get a little taste of the playoff speed again. Yeah, I could see them getting in there. Even going against a Eagles team who they're red hot, they're on fire. Niners team on fire. I could see them, still getting it against both of those teams. They can find a way to win against both of those teams. Who right now the Niners are my pick to go to the Super Bowl. But yeah, that's not to say that, like I said, that experience, that playoff experience,
Hmm.
and just number 12. I think those are two big factors. So yeah,
I think it is for me. And so I'm going to complain till I'm blue in the face about them being 8, 9 in the playoffs. But what I will say is if they do make it to the Super Bowl, knowing the teams they'll have to go through, they'll deserve to be there, right?
sure.
Yeah, and it's I'm with you. Yeah, it's um it's going to be one to watch. I still think the Cowboys do pull it off, but I can definitely see why the Buccaneers will win, and probably why a lot of people are, putting money on the Buccaneers to win, because how can you not? So, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Well, yeah, that's the wild card. Wild card weekend. I don't know where I'll be watching these games yet, but I do plan to watch every single one.
I, you know, it's it. I'm going to try. I'm definitely going to have a lot of them
Hmm.
on. The one thing I've always liked about the Chiefs getting the number one seed lately is that I can take the week before playoffs off from watching it. Mostly
Sure,
because Kate really
sure.
and appreciates that because she's not the biggest football fan in the world. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I get that. I
no,
get that.
it's I mean. In those cases, I try to watch games on my iPad, or I'll be upstairs playing video games and watching it on my second screen. So I'm going to try to watch as much as I can, but man, I'm telling you now, Jags Chargers definitely going to be on. Vikings. Wow, now I just forgot who they were even playing. Vikings Giants. Definitely
Like
going to
you
be on,
said,
and Cowboys Buccaneers definitely going to be on. And one of those rare
yeah,
years where I'll probably watch more NFC games than AFC games. Because
yeah,
I try
yeah.
to be an AFC guy during the playoffs, It's like, all right, if the Chiefs can't win the Super Bowl, then I at least want a team that we see all the time to win it, so we can be like, yeah, well, we're losing because
I
we're
am
playing.
not. No, no. I
You're
more
the
than
opposite.
ever, like more than ever. This man, Bills fans and Bengals fans. I mean, it's been a war on social media.
Right.
I just don't want them to have that over us. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sure there's some grandfather, like some sob story, somebody who would love to just get the Bills one Super Bowl win that they could see in their lifetime. I'm sorry. No, yo, you guys are nasty online. Like, just I don't want y'all to win anything.
Right.
So, if
Uh,
if we if we don't make it, uh, I probably just won't. I won't cheer for an AFC team. I can't root for the Bills. I can't root for the Bengals. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
no,
I can't root for the Chargers. I can root for the Ravens, but they're not going to make
they're
it.
not going to make it. Dolphins, they're not going to make it. Yeah. And no, I will not cheer for the Bengals for sure. I can see myself cheering for the Bills depending on who they're playing against. I get you though. It's any of the other teams left in the AFC, it's hard to cheer for them this year. So, uh yeah, no, I
Bills, Bills Mafia. Y'all got to calm down.
so stop breaking tables,
Y'all were
man.
everyone was so loving and heartwarming a week ago. Now it's just the same old. It's
Yeah. Yeah, we're done.
it
The
is just,
goodwill's run out now.
yeah, everybody just coming after each other
Right.
online. I mean, it's entertaining to be sure. Just
Uh-huh.
just the absolute pettiness between Chiefs Kingdom, Bills Mafia, and whatever the hell Bengals fans call themselves.
What is
It's
it? It's like
just
something jungle
the
or whatever.
jungle.
The
Yeah, yeah,
jungle.
something
Oh,
like
come up with a better name. I know for a while what they were trying to do is what was it? Who Dey instead of who dat. You know, it's and I'm so
yeah.
glad
They still
that
do who
died
they.
out. Do they? All
No,
right, great.
they still do. Yeah, they definitely still do who they.
Mm.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's catchy, but
No,
yeah, they
it's.
do
I
that.
mean, it's the jungle thing's a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh
anyway, I'm
man.
sorry. All rants aside. Okay,
No,
since
yeah, we're
we're
there.
going this way, if there's a team that I would root for in case we don't make it, I'll probably go with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'll probably go with the
If
Eagles.
one Kelsey
Yeah,
can't win it, let the other one.
yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Perfect.
So yeah,
All right. Yeah, let's talk other news that's going on in the NFL. So, we obviously don't have a game specifically for the Chiefs to look forward to, which is what we would typically cover now. So instead, we're just going to look at league-wide news. I am now realizing my typo on this slide, so I do apologize. But I know you had some things you wanted to express about Lovie Smith and the Texans.
yeah, and I mean. That's a whole discussion on its own. I don't know how much I want to dig into that now. That could be its own show. You know what I'm saying?
I
With the
think, yeah, we definitely look at it in a side stories or something on its own in the off season.
yeah,
I 100%
yeah.
agree. But yeah,
But I mean,
just if you want to give your cliff notes or whatever.
just basically, I mean, long story short, they got to stop doing this to black coaches. Like he had 1 year to try to turn its entire franchise around. And I know we just talked about Doug Peterson doing it over at Jacksonville. Man, that team was a talented team. They just had a just dog shit coach before the earlier. You know what I'm saying? The Texans are not that. The Texans had they're not a talented team like that. You can't just expect you can turn this
Hmm.
dog into a contender in 1 year with the pieces that they had there. He needed some time, especially and this has been a reoccurring thing. Brian Flores, like
Hmm.
Vance Joseph, Steve Wilkes.
Oh, well,
Who's
our
that?
own
Who's
guy,
that?
Eric Bieniemy, who
Eric Bieniemy.
hasn't been given a chance. So you're talking about guys who have been given a chance and getting rid of right away. But there's also that plethora of talent out there of people who haven't even been given a chance. Who is the
Yeah.
other guy you were talking about? Sorry.
Who that hasn't been given a chance?
No, or you were about to say another name before I cut you off with Bieniemy.
I'm not sure. But but to add to it, I would say like now I know that the Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett lost his job earlier this year.
Hmm.
I think that's another situation where it's like he lost the locker room, man. It's not really so much of
It's a massive difference, right?
yeah, it's a different situation, I think.
Hackett came in with zero coaching experience at the level that he was being given it to. He brought in a whole new staff to surround him of equally inexperienced individuals. And then he was given a team that's helmed by somebody who at one point in time was probably the best quarterback in the league and is now getting paid like he's still the best quarterback in the league, and Russell Wilson. You have a defense that's, for lack of a
Yeah.
better word, absolutely outstanding. And then an offense full of genuinely talented skill position players. Now, a handful of them did get, season-ending injuries early on, so give them a little slack there. But where it does differ for Hackett is that Hackett lost the locker room, like you were saying. It was so bad of a culture at the Broncos that when the defensive coordinator, a guy who is going to be in a lot of coaching interviews the next coming weeks, so bad that he turned down the chance to be an interim coach because he wanted to be able to focus. He didn't say this, but I think we all know he wanted to focus on continuing to grow the defense, which is something he can directly control, so that he can get a good coaching job coming here soon. He didn't want the tail end of the Broncos season tied to him. Hackett deserved to lose his job. You're
Yeah.
right that Lovie Smith came into a team where, okay, after the season's over, we can look back and say Damian Pierce is good. We didn't know that going in. They have no offensive line.
He's the only piece.
He's the only piece.
He's the only
They have no offensive line, no quarterbacks. They're using two different quarterbacks in multiple plays, which
That's a
doesn't
bad
work.
sign.
Yeah.
That's a
Um,
bad sign.
and their
You know?
defense is equally atrocious. So, uh,
Yeah.
Now, I do have to edit because I know we're probably not popular enough for people to really pull up the receipts from old shows, but I do have to go out and admit I did not like the hiring of Lovie Smith for the Texans. Um, a lot of the reason I didn't
Sure.
like the hiring, though, was based more on I think there's just significantly better coaching talent out
Right.
there uh,
100%.
in the form of, and I think the two individuals in that show where we were talking about him being hired, the two individuals I did call out were Brian Flores, who I think needs a head coaching job and deserves one anywhere, and then of course Bieniemy, who obviously deserves one. I don't want him to go because it'll hurt the Chiefs, but it's not going to hurt him too bad to the point where I actively don't want him to progress his career.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
I
so
well go ahead. I'm
oh
sorry.
no, so I do have to admit that at one point on this pod, I said I didn't like this hiring. I dislike his firing more because it's very clear the Texans have an approach to African American coaches, because it happened last year too, where they are one and done pieces when the general manager and the back office as a whole doesn't give them the tools to succeed.
No.
So I will happily say that. It sucks. I'm sure Lovie Smith will land on his feet somewhere else. There's going to be other coaching jobs available.
Sure.
I always forget his background's in defense, right? Is that, or am I
I would say
tripping?
yes. I
So
would say yes.
there's going to be a lot of teams that will lose defensive coordinators. I hope. Not only does he want it, but a team wants him then to get him there and put him back into a position where a head coaching job opens up and he gets it. Because I think he does have the capability to be a good coach. It's just, yeah, when he was hired, there were much better candidates on the field. And he definitely did not deserve to be fired because it's very clear the Texans are firing him for reasons other than they have a plan in place as to where they're going next.
Yeah, I feel you. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that franchise. I mean, I really think it starts at the top.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely just it just adds to the already kind of known thing that what they do with black coaches in this league is just it's not right. They don't get the same opportunities.
Yeah.
They for like I said, there are some coaches that have been fired sooner, but it's due to kind of some outrageous circumstances. You're not going to tell me that Lovey Smith and Nathaniel Hackett did the same
No.
job. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Because
Or if
because
you want
if
to
you
go to
flip
last
them,
year,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was saying if you want to go to last year, Urban Meyer, you're not going to tell me Lovey Smith did just as good of a
Hmm.
job as Urban Meyer. You know what I mean?
And yeah, because I think if you do flip them, if Lovie Smith coaches the Broncos and Hackett coaches the Texans, I think Hackett gets fired even sooner, and I think Lovie Smith is still in a job. And same thing, if
Right.
Lovie Smith is coaching the Jaguars last year instead of Urban, Lovie Smith still has a job. Now, I mean, in hindsight, they got Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson is a better coach than Lovie Smith. But the point remains, you're absolutely correct in that there are these individuals who come into this job, like Hackett and like Myers, who have no right to be there. And then Lovie Smith gets treated like this when he does have a right to be there to some extent. Yeah, I mean, they need to figure it out. And he's been doing interviews, kind of beating the same drum that has been beaten for the past handful of years that needs to be beaten, and that the NFL does have a problem with black coaches, and it's not great.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we're kind of run up against
Yeah,
it. We're coming
yeah,
up on an
sorry,
hour and
sorry.
a half.
That's
But definitely
I do
want to jump
apologize
into
for that.
this no. We had a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
So, but
Uh, Before we progress past Black Friday, though, just real quickly, the other head coaching position that did get vacated was Cliff Kingsbury with the Cardinals.
yes. Yep.
That
Yep.
I think is an example of a good firing. And then
Yeah, he had ample time.
yeah, and they also axed their general manager too. So I
Yes.
think when a team axes their general manager, it's completely reasonable to go ahead and axe the head coach too, no matter what the record is, because those two guys are supposed to work hand in hand. So you want to bring in one that also brings in a guy who will work with them. Completely reasonable. When one goes and the other goes, nothing to see here. And the Cardinals definitely needed a change because they have way too much talent down there in Arizona to be finishing the season with a losing record.
You can see the difference between the sidelines like in Houston
Mm-hmm.
and sidelines like in Arizona and Denver, where
Mm-hmm.
it was just it was just a bad environment.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not a winning culture over there. I think those are two different things. Like in
Absolutely.
Houston, they're still trying to win. In Atlanta, or not Atlanta, in Arizona and Denver, they once you lose the locker room, I think that's a bigger sign of, okay, there's a change that needs to be made
Mm-hmm.
versus just a losing record.
Right.
Yeah, but
So
yeah, let's get in.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, so now it's going to be there's more than a couple of open positions between the Cardinals, the Texans. The Colts are probably not going to let Jeff Saturday stick around, and I don't think Saturday wants to, anyways. Broncos
That
will
was
have
fun, but no, it's time.
yeah, it's see ya. Broncos are going to have an open position. I think the Panthers will be interesting to watch. I bet they remove the interim tag on Wilkes because I think he did very well with
Did
the
a great
pieces he
job.
was given. So it's going to be just those four positions and everybody going hard on Sean Payton. So, can't wait.
Absolutely.
All right, yes, please. I keep stopping you from progressing to the next point. So,
No, let's just talk about this AFC potential, and for all cases, probably likely the AFC Championship game will likely be hosted at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I guess. Mercedes-Benz
I
Stadium
think
in
that's yeah,
Atlanta. Yeah.
great looking
Um.
stadium. Definitely one I want to
Oh,
go to.
absolutely,
I will not be going to it for
absolutely.
a championship game.
Neither will I.
Oh
Neither will I.
man.
But
Um,
I've seen mixed reactions. I think there's a lot of people upset about the fact that we have to do a neutral game. I've been pretty kind of vocal about, I don't think that the home field advantage matters as much as we like to think it does in the
Especially for
playoffs.
this team, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Like since before Mahomes, we had six straight losses at home in the playoffs since 1992. I want to win
Some
1992 or
yeah,
1990,
yeah, that
something
sounds
like
right.
that. But even if you want to just go to the Mahomes era, yeah, we won in the divisional rounds in the AFC and all that stuff. But once it got to the AFC Championship game, we're 2-2, right? Like we've been
Yeah.
beaten twice. Now, one you could argue it was, you know, single handedly beaten by like a bad call or what have you. But the fact is, we were beaten at home,
Hmm.
and the fact we were even in that position, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, we lost last year to the Bengals at home. So it's not like that couldn't happen this year at home
Right.
to one of those two teams who are even better than they were last year. You know what I'm saying? So I am okay with the neutral site, but definitely wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Well, and I do have to shout out our guy RMR in our Discord. Absolutely fantastic interactions with him all the time, and that's why people, the hint, nudge, nudge, come join our Discord so you can talk about it with us. I think he makes a
Right.
really great point where home field advantage is more for the defense of the home team than it is for the offense.
Sure.
And the way this team that we have wins games is with an offense.
Yeah.
We've always had a good enough defense to get us there. We have a much better defense this year than we've had in the past few years, so it's looking better. But yeah, RMR is absolutely correct in that a home field advantage supports the defense. If we're not playing at home, it's fine because Patrick Mahomes wins wherever he plays. And he has a better
Absolutely.
road record, anyways, than he does a home record. Like I know you've said a lot. Um,
Yeah.
shoot and plus it I think that just people are doing this frustrating thing, and that always annoys me when it comes to sports fans though, is that they're forgetting the Bills fans and the Chiefs fans who are going to be the ones who have to uh contend with this. I just feel like they're thinking of it as a negative thing for their team only instead of the fact that it's also a negative thing for the other team. It's a neutral site, and it's not like it's within driving distance of either team. Like this is a genuine travel situation for both teams, and they're going to be playing in Atlanta. So
12 and a half miles for us. And it's 13 and a half, or sorry, 12 and a half hour drive for
so it's
Kansas
12
City.
miles. Damn, I'll,
No,
I'll
no, no.
start
Sorry,
walking.
sorry.
I'll go.
Yeah, yeah. Kansas
Yeah,
City is 12 and a half miles from to Atlanta. Uh,
hours by car,
and
and
hours,
then
hours, hours by car. And in the Bills, it's Buffalo, it's 13 and a half hours to Atlanta. So yeah, it's I mean, we quote unquote have the advantage by an hour,
right,
right? But really it's pretty like it's gonna be a trek for both teams. Now
yeah,
both Bills Mafia does travel. Can't Chiefs Kingdom I think is starting to travel. Like I
we
don't think we
travel
could have
really
said
well
that
now,
before.
though.
Yeah, I don't think we could have said that before Mahomes era, but
Mm.
yeah, they definitely do travel now. So I'll be curious to see kind of the audience makeup if this game is to happen.
And I think that's the other important thing to remember is like everybody's so focused on this game. Guys, there's still 3 weeks until it. You know, the Bills still have to win, what is it, 2 games, and the Chiefs still have to win 1 game in order to get there.
Sure.
Can we start focusing on those games first? Because while the Bills are going to win this week, like we were talking about, they're probably going to be playing the Bengals in the week after. So that doesn't necessarily guarantee anything there. And then we'll
Right.
be facing what is likely to be a quality team in whomever is left from the the Jags Chargers game. So we need
Right.
to be focused on that as well. Uh, the we we played the Chargers, what is it, twice this year. Both games close from what memory serves, especially that first one where we, pretty much broke Herbert's ribs and he still almost beat us. And then the second game, it was a little bit better in the Chiefs' favor, but hey, still, Chargers, Herbert, they're a good, dangerous team. And then when we played the Jags, they almost beat us too. So I think
Right.
everyone's presuming this is going to be a neutral site game. There's a lot of football to be played between now and then. If it's a neutral site game, who cares? Because I want to be happy that we won, leading up to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. If we get home another championship game at Arrowhead, awesome.
Awesome.
If we don't, we're going to be fine.
Hey, and
We're
from
going to be fine.
a selfish standpoint, it's not like I'm going to either game anyway, so
Right. Yeah.
I'll
No, I
I'll be
wouldn't.
watching it on my couch at home. I'm fine. So,
Yeah. I was gonna say y'all should be happy because you don't have to say I'm the cold, but I know, I know Chiefs fans don't want to hear that.
oh man, yeah.
Yeah, but
It's true.
award season
Yes.
begins. I don't really have all the awards up, but I just want to say Mahomes is the MVP. It's no question. Like 5,000, over 5,000 yards a season, 45 touchdowns. He's what 500 yards ahead of the next best person.
He
Um,
set a single season NFL record. Case done. You
yeah,
know,
it's over.
it's over.
It's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna win the MVP, Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and
So
has the potential of winning a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP
God, wouldn't that be
this year.
crazy? What we should say about the Walter Payton thing, because I think there's a little bit of confusion, at least from what I've seen on Twitter today. The
Okay,
result came out from the Twitter poll, which is where everybody would be retweeting the whole, what is it, hashtag whatever, Walter Payton Manning year of the
sure,
Walter, yeah. Anyways, so that's a challenge within itself. It's called the Charity Challenge, and Mahomes did win that one. So he has that trophy to his name, but it hasn't locked up the 2022 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year
okay,
award yet. It has some weight on how that goes. I think quite frequently whoever wins that charity challenge does quite often win the Walter Payton. So it's incredibly likely that this could happen. It's just
sure.
I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying that he's won it and he hasn't. So that
I'm
should
glad
be
you cleared that
clarified.
up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you cleared that up for me because I thought he won it because and I was like, do they really leave this award up to Twitter?
Yeah. No,
I was like,
yeah,
hold
he's
on.
won. Yeah, he's won an element of it, and it still is $25,000 too. Mahomes' charity of choice. He'll probably choose his own
Sure.
charity. 15 of Mahomes, great
Yeah, for
charity.
sure.
But yeah, I think this gets announced at the same time that the other end of season awards get. So I was like, wait a second, I don't think it gets announced this early, does it? And so I had to dig into it and was like, no, yeah. Which yeah, it's nothing to laugh at. That means more people retweeted this whole thing for Mahomes than anyone else. He's the third or fourth Chiefs player to have won it. And let me see. Chiefs players have now won it 3 consecutive years in a row. Matthew, then Kelsey, then Mahomes this year, and
Mahomes.
then Eric Berry actually won it the first time they implemented it in 2015. So that's 4 Chiefs players since the year 2015. So yeah, per capita, we're winning like no other.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Keep
We've
tweeting,
oh
Chiefs.
yeah, I just see it. We've won 4 of 8.
There we go.
We've won half of them. So keep it up, Chiefs Kingdom. Good
There we
job.
go. There we go. Um,
Okay, yeah. So MVP odds, you're absolutely correct. He has to win most valuable player. As far as Vegas odds go, he is leading it. So I think it's in the bag. Um, I will say I'll probably be more mad if he loses this than I have been about anything else this season, and that includes kickers. So yeah, take that as you will. All
absolutely. Yep.
right.
We'll have to see how it goes.
Offensive player of the year. Do you want me to read off like the contenders and see what you think? Because I know you said you didn't have it in front of you, and I know we're looking to wrap up here quickly.
Yeah, let's just do some quick takes on it. Yeah,
Sure.
if you want to read them off,
All right, so
then we
as
can do
far
it.
as Vegas odds say, Justin Jefferson is by far and away the lead here. Tyreek Hill is just after him, and then in third place is Mahomes. You know me. If a quarterback wins MVP, then let's give it to somebody else for Offensive Player of the Year, and I see why Justin Jefferson should win it. Without a doubt, the best receiver in the league this year, and contributed more to his offense than any other player has contributed to their offense. I don't know about you.
Um, I I think it's Mahomes, man. You said wait, offensive player of the year? Is that
Yeah,
what you said?
Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah,
I'm trying to think who else. You said Justin Jefferson's in the lead for that?
by far and away. Yeah, as far as Vegas odds
Ah,
go.
man, that's something I'd have to think. I mean, I don't know who's in second. Do you have any of that? Who's in
Yeah.
second, third, or whatever?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Justin Jefferson first, then Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Christian
Right,
McCaffrey.
right, right. No,
Um,
they can't. Okay, so I'm ignoring all the quarterbacks.
hmm
Like,
Yeah.
because if a quarterback wins MVP, which it most likely will, no disrespect to the other guys, but I think yeah, this award should go to a non-quarterback. Yeah, I think Justin Jefferson's fair for that. I'm trying. Yeah, there's nobody else I can really think of like
I,
non-quarterback that like lit up this year.
I I think if McCaffrey had had a
Man, if
chance to be with the 49ers all season,
sure.
um,
And I was gonna say your boy Matt Breida.
oh,
Well, I guess he's a rookie, right?
which I believe he is in contention for rookie. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, we'll go through that. All right. So yeah, Justin Jefferson. Fingers crossed for him.
Yeah. Fair
He's
enough.
absolute star there.
Fair
And
enough.
Tyreek Hill will frankly become unbearable if he wins it. So let's. I
I'm
guess that's my
over it.
other reason. All right, defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa, by far.
Yeah.
It's not even
Yeah.
close, and I fully
Sure.
agree with this.
Sure.
Anyone but Bosa. Maybe halfway through the season, Micah Partisan for sure. Oh, Micah Partisan.
Like a person. Yeah.
Micah Partisan. Wow. Yeah, would have been my defensive player in the year, but yeah, a whole year in scope. Bosa.
Yeah. Nick Bosa. Yeah, he's definitely getting that.
The
Definitely
others,
getting that.
the others
The
kind of.
Jeffrey Dahmer of have you listened to him
Oh
like
my
mic'd
God,
up?
it's so
He's so
true.
he's so
Yeah,
creepy.
he's so wild. All right.
Yeah.
Offensive rookie of the year: Garrett Wilson, Kenneth Walker, Brock Purdy, um, Christian Watson, Brian Robinson Jr. I mean,
Yeah, give it to Big Cock Brock. That's what they call him.
I don't know if they get to count postseason games, but if he does make it to, because they do these awards
Before the Super Bowl,
before
right?
the Super Bowl, but after the championship games, if
Sure.
if the 49ers get to the Super Bowl, I think give it to Purdy. Um, it's so
Yeah.
hard to want to give it to an award to somebody who's played, you know, 4 games in the season, whereas Garrett Wilson has just been absolute monster. I feel for the
Sure.
Jets. So But hey, I think we all know that I'm a Jets fanboy. It turns out, weirdly, I didn't expect that this time last year, but they've been killing it for me. So,
I think if the Jets ended better, then that would be a conversation. What are the
hmm
odds? The odds have Garrett Wilson
yeah,
winning.
odds have Garrett Wilson minus
Okay,
200, and then Kenneth
okay,
Walker in second at plus 450, so about 600 point swing.
gotcha. Okay, well, it probably will be him then. But
hmm
if you ask me, I think it should be Brock. But that's just me.
And it's just he has to win in the postseason for me to be convinced.
Yeah,
If they get
only
eliminated,
because it's Mister Irrelevant, man. How cool would that be?
it
Mister
would be pretty
Irrelevant
cool.
becomes Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie Player of the Year.
It would be super. No, I'm with you 100%. All right, defensive rookie of the year. This one's actually a blowout for Ahmad Gardner,
Hmm.
who I can see it.
What team? I actually don't. I'm not familiar with that name, and I see the stream is. Oh, and it's back. It's back. Disregard.
It's yeah. So there's this problem where HBO when Kate streams it kills my internet. Oh
Uh,
man. No, yeah, Sauce Gardner. He plays for the Jets too. So
Sauce Gardner.
Sauce
Yes,
Gardner.
yes.
That's
Okay. When you
that's
said
his.
his nickname, I was
That
like,
is
okay,
right. Yeah.
that's what it was.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's entirely possible the Jets walk away with you know two end of year honors. Good for them.
Hey,
And
they get something out of this season.
I think Gardner has defensive rookie of the year locked. That's the only one I'm 100% willing to say is locked.
That's fair.
So that's my thought. The others in contention: Aiden Hutchinson, Tariq
Oh, from
Woolen.
the Lions?
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Did you man, he was balling against the Packers there. I know you need the whole season, but I mean
right.
that I haven't watched too much of the Lions, but from what I saw from him, yeah, I like him. I think he's gonna I like this he's gonna be a star in this league, I would say.
hmm
So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So and then comeback player of the year. Next up, Shaquan Barkley. Actually on even odds with Geno Smith. And
It's
then
gotta be Gino, bro. It's
third
gotta be
place there
Gino.
is Christian McCaffrey. It, Again, if McCaffrey had been at the 49ers all year, yes, give it to him. But yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of people are calling it for Barkley. That's fine. I think Geno Smith is a significantly more impressive story.
Yeah, and I understand the Barkley thing too. Like I'm not gonna say I don't. Like I understand it because he's been injury ridden, man. He just has had a snake bitten start to his NFL career, and now he's finally showing flashes. I don't even know if he's all that dominant. Like where did he finish this year as far as rushing yards?
Let me look.
Um,
He did not win it because it was won by Jacob Peterson, I think, or not Jacob
Jared Peter,
Peterson. Holy moly. Um, Jacobs
Josh
at the Raiders.
Jacobs.
Oh my God! Wow, that's all right. Cool. We're gonna.
No, I think
um, no, here. Let me. I'm pulling it up right now. Josh Jacobs did win it. I think it was one of those things where Derrick Henry had to run for about 300 yards
yeah.
and Jacobs for no yards to get it.
Yeah, you got
Barkley.
Josh Jacobs,
Barkley
Derek
ended fourth.
Henry,
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, Saquon in the fourth. Which I mean, I know this is not rushing leader of the year. This is offensive, or this is comeback
Comeback. Yeah.
player of the year. So the fact he got fourth is cool and all, but I really think that's kind of something you kind of expect from him. I guess, and I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, but I think no one. What I mean by that is no one expected Gino to do what he's doing at all. No one expected that. So the fact that they're in the playoffs and he's been balling all year, I think is the more impressive story, in my personal opinion.
If Barkley had won, if Barkley had one rushing leader, then I think that's a completely different discussion. He got fourth place,
Sure,
and he got fourth place by 200 yards. So,
sure,
yeah, close the discussion is Geno Smith for me. Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
All right, and then
but
last but not least, coach of the year. Uh,
mm,
this one's tough. So the leader is Nick Sirianni.
which is
Absolutely.
fair.
I
Yeah,
yeah, I what he's doing absolute great work over at the Eagles. Then Shanahan. For me, it is Doug Peterson. He's in third on this, just because he took what was the worst team in the NFL last year. And
oh, stream out.
all right, it should be coming back in a second here. Maybe is it back? Oh
Started
no,
1 minute ago. Yep, we're back. We're
we're
back.
back.
We're back.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. I need to go hop on the phone with Spectrum and yell at them for a little bit because this has been getting worse, it seems. Um, Sorry, where did you lose me? So,
Nick
Sirianni,
Sirianni.
yeah, Nick
Hmm.
Sirianni, doing great. Eagles did good. Um, but and then Kyle Shanahan's in second here. He had a great turnaround season. For me, it's Doug Peterson, and it's not even close. He's in third place, but he took the worst NFL team and made them and probably not a title contender, but won the AFC South and are on an absolute hot streak. So he took a dumpster
Awesome.
fire from the hands of Urban and turned it into a great team. Some
Awesome.
somebody who I'm surprised, and I want maybe you have an opinion on this, isn't higher in the odds is Dan Campbell. I really expected him to be a top three contender. Do you think it's
That,
because the Lions didn't make it to the playoffs?
that would have been my pick. Is Dan Campbell actually? You said yours is
Doug
Doug Peterson,
Peterson,
which
yeah.
that's a great pick. Yeah, you're right. He took him from dogs to contenders, but so did uh
So
so
did
did
Dan Campbell, yeah.
so did Dan Campbell. They had a great season. Those players support him. They're behind him 100%. Yeah, I thought it would have been the that's who my pick would have been.
I
Of
I, I
course,
think
I can't really argue with Nick Sirianni either. There's been some good. You could give
some good
me any
coaches.
any of those guys, and I'd be
Hmm.
like, okay, yeah. And even what's his name, DeBoll or whatever his name is, the Giants coach.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
could
yeah.
see him. I could see him being an option as well because all those teams were they were trash,
Yeah.
and those guys come in and they get the support of the players, they make them contenders, they make them relevant. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the one category where we can probably pretty easily agree that considering who are the top contenders, Vegas odd-wise, we won't be disappointed. Whereas, all the other categories, there are people who we would strongly disagree with winning it. So,
sure.
I,
Yeah,
I
this is
and
one I'd be happy for
any of them.
anyone.
I
Which I'd be happy for anyone anyway. But I'm saying like
right.
it's like as far as like yeah, I could see there's arguments I can see and arguments I can't see in some of those other categories. And this one I can see arguments for every single one of them across the board. So
Yeah. I think for me, it would have been Dan Campbell, and this is just my parting thought on it. It would have been Campbell if they had made the playoffs because they didn't. That's why it is a little bit lower priority
sure,
for me. I would not be surprised if he ends up winning it next year because I really do think the Lions are going to be strong contenders next year, short of some catastrophic event, right? So the teams as is now going into next year. Yeah, I think Dan Campbell will be a top dog.
yeah,
All right.
absolutely, cool,
That's
cool.
can't think of anything else to even talk about.
No, I think
Since
we
we've been
got it, man.
talking for an hour 47 minutes, man. I thought we
Yeah,
were
I thought
gonna.
this is a long one. This
Oh
is a long
man.
one, but we had a lot of ground to cover. I would say quick takes. Just shout out to Mahomes for owning half of Kansas City.
Oh
Um,
jeez, it's crazy.
salute to Derek Carr for being a Raider and giving us so many wins over the years. I'm sure he'll land on his feet. I'm sure he'll land on his feet. So I'm not going. I'm
No,
not
he's
going.
gonna land on his feet at the Colts and then quickly be knocked off his feet because his offensive line is atrocious.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. And yeah, I think that's it. That's all I had.
That's all. All right.
All right, but
Where can they find you?
what
No,
they
I'm
can
taking it
find
from you.
me.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. They can find me on Instagram, The Almighty Raw, on Twitter at The Almighty Raw. They can find our show at State of the Kingdom, SOT Kingdom KC on Twitter, State of the Kingdom on YouTube, and of course, follow us for our Discord link. Join us on Discord. We do have a Discord channel where we
Please,
do our
yes.
show recordings. And I think that's me. Or what about you, man? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so Twitter's the best place right now at Chef Doobles. Eventually, one day, as I keep promising this, I'll follow through on it. Streaming at YouTube, youtube.com/at Chef Doobles. Get it there. And hey, keep an eye on, like Rob was saying, keep an eye on the spaces there too, because fingers crossed we'll be streaming some video games together too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to mention, John Ross signing. We'll probably dive more into that in the off season, but hey,
Mm,
Chiefs, we got another
got,
potential
got another
weapon.
player. There
Yeah,
we go.
but
Good
yeah,
thought. I totally forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, should be a fun week. Not stressing about our game because we don't have one. So, gonna look forward to checking out these wild card games, and in a couple weeks we'll be able to say go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. All right.